Hello, everyone. I'm your haunted host, Jennifer. I have so many things magically brewing for you that I can't wait to share. But in the meantime, while I'm busy creating magic, please enjoy this encore episode. It is one of my spooky favorites. Hello and welcome to I Talk to Ghosts, the podcast that is sure to send a cold shiver down your spine. I'm your haunted host, Jennifer, a spirit medium and a whisperer of ghost stories. I thought I would share with you a collection of stories about winter ghosts. And of course, later on, join me at my seance table for a message from the spirits. This is an opportunity for a spirit of a loved one to connect with you right now through the podcast. And since you're listening, this message could be for you. That's later on in the podcast. But for now, grab a warm blanket, light a candle, and sip a cozy drink. The winter ghosts are ready to chill you right now. One early winter evening, my mom went to tend the graves of her parents, as she often did. She hated to see the grave with dying flowers, so she went every few days. I'm not sure how old the grounds are, but there are graves and tombs on this site that are no longer legible. My mom was just adding some new flowers when it started to snow. Suddenly, she noticed a girl was approaching her. My mom described her as being a girl in her 20s, and she was wearing just a white cotton dress, and asked my mom where she could find water. My mom pointed to the chapel that was nearby as a possible place. She thanked my mom and walked away. It then occurred to my mom that a girl in a white dress was a strange sight to see in the middle of a snowy day. Concerned, she stood and looked around, but couldn't see this girl. She got into her car and drove around the cemetery looking for her, heading in the direction that she went. Only a few minutes had passed, but the girl was nowhere to be seen. My mom believes she saw a spirit that day, perhaps of a girl who no longer had a family to tend to her grave. Perhaps it had just been a person grieving, but the event had stuck in my mom's mind for years. I believe that because she was grieving herself, she was able to be more in tune with another spirit. In 1993, I was living in Camden, Maine. It was a beautiful place to live, miles of coastline and forest. One winter day, I decided to go for a hike with my dog. I loaded up my dog and got a map and went for a January hike. Snow was in the air, but I couldn't wait, and we headed out. After about 2 hours of following the trail through the mountains, it started to snow, really heavily, almost a whiteout. My dog loved it, and so did I. It was a feeling of magic in the air with so much snow. I came across an open field. My dog became scared and ran in circles, barking. I thought maybe a bear was nearby. I looked around and could see all around me, no trees, just an open field. my dog started going crazy, and I began to worry. I started calling for my dog, nowhere in sight. I could hear her barking and running away. For a minute or two, I stood looking in this open field, nothing around me. I turned to my left, and a man was standing 3 feet away from me. I almost fell over, I was so shocked. Where did this guy come from? I backed off about 5 feet and looked at him, my dog still barking from somewhere nearby. At the time, I was too shocked to think clearly, so I just said, "Where did you come from?" He was over 6 foot and pure white, like a plastic doll. He didn't answer me. I heard my dog again far away, so I turned around. It was only 3 or 4 seconds before I turned back, and he was gone. I looked this way and that, but no one was there. All there was my footprints in the snow. It was snowing very heavily, and I was very unsettled, so I decided to head out. About 20 feet down the trail, I saw a footprint alongside one of my half snow-covered prints. As I walked, there was another 10 feet away, new and fresh. Every 10 feet, another, all going the opposite way. I tried running and jumping to match the stride of the prints. There's no way I could do it. I'm 6 foot, and I couldn't match that stride. It was going the way I came in, so I followed it, still hearing my dog. All of a sudden, the long striding footsteps disappeared. I followed my original trail back the way I came. When I got back to my truck, my dog was underneath it and not willing to get out from under the truck. I've heard stories about wood sprites, that they can take the shape of people but look fake if you look too closely. I think that is what I ran into that snowy day. A week or so later, I went back the same way as before. I never found that open field again, only mountain trails. We live on 7 acres in the forest. One day in January, it was very cold and had snowed just about 2 inches. Right after dark, I looked out my back door and saw tracks in the snow. I thought they looked odd, so I stepped outside to investigate. The tracks were not animal or human-made. They looked more like teeny ski tracks. Since I was alone and it was dark outside, it spooked me, so I went back in my home. The next day, my daughter and I went to take a look. The tracks were still there. They were lines about 2 inches apart, running right together. The snow between the tracks was not pushed up, and my daughter remarked that it looked like a fairy had been skiing. And you know, that's kind of what it looked like. The tracks traveled from my neighbor's yard to my yard, then in between our houses, behind the house, into my backyard, and then proceeded into the woods. These tracks curved around objects such as trees, the shed, leaf piles, etc. They went around our swing, which is only about 6 inches off the ground. In the woods, the tracks again curved around trees and logs and continued on beyond the woods off of our property. There were no animal or human footprints anywhere for over 7 acres, just these tracks. Other spooky things have happened around the area, but that's another story. That whole winter, though, we would occasionally hear someone on our front porch. Heavy, loud footsteps coming up the steps, then walking across the porch. Nobody was ever there. But as far as those tracks go, we never discovered an answer. Book a tarot reading with me. Tarot can be a wonderful source for affirmation, validation, and inspiration. To book a session with me, visit italktoghosts.com/readings. Let's see what the cards have to say for you. Hello and welcome back to I Talk to Ghosts. I have a message from the spirits on this cold winter's evening, so thank you for joining me around my seance table. Tonight I have with me some winter herbs that I wish to work with. I have blessed thistle, juniper, and holly, all of which are known to have properties associated with blessings and protection, clear wisdom and divination, as well as themes of hope and eternal life. So I'm going to ground and center and call the spirit close to be with us. Tonight we have with us someone's aunt. She's showing me all kinds of energy, great laughter. She's showing me a boat. I'm seeing you guys always out on the water, jumping off and swimming together, all kinds of laughter and family activities. She had a large family of her own, but she still had time for her sister's children, for you. And growing up and later on having that adult perspective in life, you're like, how did she do this? How did she always have energy and juggle so many aspects of her life? She's showing me she used to slip you money and never missed a birthday, always sending you cards. Even when you got older and were moving away, she would always send you a birthday card with a little money in it. You used to make fun of the fake plants that she kept in her house, and her joke was that she didn't have time to water real plants, so her joke was it needed to be fake plants, plastic plants in her house. Her message for you tonight is to cultivate a relationship with yourself, to trust yourself, and to know who you are and not let your thoughts run out of control and get the better of you. We know when we're catastrophizing or worrying too much. Take the time to really sort through your mental activities and realize and connect with who you are, not your thoughts. She thinks that you're brilliant and that you could just use a little housekeeping in that area. Set your mind towards your dreams and inspirations and let your heart be in there too. I think I'm going to leave it at that. If this message connects for you, please reach out because I would love to know. Thank you. Hello, my dear spooky friend. Do you have a paranormal experience you would like to share? Submit your ghost stories to be read on this podcast. I love sharing true ghost stories, and yours could be among them. Email me your story at speaknow@italktoghosts.com. Let's be spooky together. And with that, dear listener, we've reached the end of this episode of I Talk to Ghosts. I hope you've enjoyed the spirit work that I shared with you this evening, as well as those tales of wintry ghosts. Have you ever encountered a ghost in the dead of winter? I would love to hear about it. In the meantime, wherever you wander off to in this world or the next, just remember, come back and visit with me. Have a lovely evening and good night.